What's going on, Dolphins? It is your boy Dillon, and I am here with you today. Just got a couple things to talk about. So go ahead and get right into it. First and foremost, just some interesting news, I guess. Frankly, I'll be honest with you. It doesn't really, it's not really a big deal to me, but there has been some talk, some reports and stuff about us having a joint practice with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think they're cool because from the aspect of, you know, during training camp, your guys are always hitting the same guys over and over again. So it is nice to be able to hit somebody else during training camp. So I do like that aspect of it. I think it can be a useful tool. But it was never one of those things that was like, you know, I got super excited about. Like, it's not one of those things, you know. I mean, like I said, it is good to be able to see your guys go up against a different opponent. You know, it can help in the evaluation process, but, you know, I mean, for the most part, it's really just trying to see what guys are going to, you know, shape up the roster and everything. So it doesn't really matter that much, but it's interesting and it's fun, and I think it's cool. I do enjoy when they do get to do it, you know, just because it does add a little bit of a different element to things, you know. So we'll see how it turns out. Every now and again you see like a fight happen or something. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but that does obviously make it a little more interesting. So there's that. Also, it looks like the Dolphins are trying to push for the 2020 Pro Bowl to be at Hard Rock Stadium. We already have the Super Bowl going to Hard Rock Stadium that year, so that would be cool. That, you know, would obviously be good for South Florida and the surrounding area, you know, for business wise and stuff like that. You know, it's a major event. So having the Pro Bowl and then the Super Bowl there would be awesome, would be great. But they do have concerns about, you know, whether the field will be able to I mean, it's a week apart, you know, so they should have time, but they obviously do have, you know, lots of events and other, you know, games and stuff that go through there, from, you know, soccer and, you know, college football and all sorts of stuff. That's one of the things, obviously, throughout the season. You know, the grounds team there has a lot of work to do because they're always having like college games and stuff that play in there in the stadium as well. So so that'll be interesting to see if they end up landing that. And then finally, the thing that I really want to talk about just really fast is, so there have been reports, and according to Chris Greer, the Dolphins could take a quarterback this year and next year. So reading into that a little bit more though, right? Because on the surface, I would say great, right? They should. I think that my philosophy would be take a quarterback every year, no matter what, and somewhere, you know, third round or later, depending on how bad you think you really need a quarterback, right? But you never take one in the first or second rounds, right? You address more, you know, you address other more important holes, right? But that way you're always taking a fresh guy, you know, a young quarterback that you can develop always, right? And then that way you always make sure that you have an adequate backup. You're not chasing guys and giving away draft capital. It gives you an opportunity to like trade back and accrue draft capital. Plus, again, you know, it's not where you draft, but how you draft, right? So, you know, again, Tom Brady was a 5th round, you know, draft pick, so you could find guys later, right? And if you know, if you're comfortable with your starter and your backup, then you take you know, a quarterback in like the 6th or 7th round, or like as an undrafted free agent. But you always take one no matter what. I would say you should always draft one. So, you know, I would say at the latest, you know, maybe 5th to 6th or 5th to 7th round, 5th to 7th round. But, you know, if you feel like you need one, you know, the need is a little bit more important, then you take one in like the 3rd or 4th round, right? But anyway, so the thing about this though is okay, look, so Ryan Fitzpatrick is essentially the only quarterback we have. Jake Rudock and Luke Falk, I think, have thrown like 5 passes, if I remember correctly. I saw a stat on it. They've thrown like 5 passes in the NFL, period. Right? So essentially we have Ryan Fitzpatrick. We have him for 2 years. As of right now, the contract, they could get out of it next year, you know, but anyway, so, but the way this reads is that, to me, right, now obviously it's really, you know, it's a lot of coach speak, right? But see, that's the thing, right? So, and that's part of, you know, what my job is, and, you know, other YouTubers and stuff, is to be able to, you know, take the things that they say, right? Because in essence, they're a lot like politicians, right? They say things, they have talking points that they go off of, and that's why you hear a lot of the same things over and over again, right? You hear a lot of this stuff, right? So Greer said on Monday that Fitzpatrick is going to be the bridge in the next year or two. You know, we could take a quarterback, maybe one this year and next year. Now, you know, obviously I could be reading too much into this, but with the current situation, with Ryan Fitzpatrick being basically our only quarterback, and they have an out for next year, so clearly there's no long-term plan in place that we can see for anyone we have. So obviously we're going to need to pick up guys, but also you take that, and with the fact that, like, last year Stephen Ross apparently wanted to take a quarterback instead of Minkah Fitzpatrick, so he's itching for a quarterback. Now we got rid of Ryan Tannehill. I know Stephen Ross, see, and this is the thing, guys, right? So look, there's going to be a bunch of people in that room. Stephen Ross, though, is going to be in people's ear being like, we need a quarterback. And look, if they take a quarterback at 13, or if they move up, especially if they move up and give away draft capital to get a guy, and then like tank or suck this year, and then potentially give away even more draft capital if we have to move up a couple spots next year, or even if you didn't have to move up. Although I'm fairly certain that at least this year we would have to move up if we wanted to get like Kyler Murray or Dwayne Haskins, or even possibly Drew Lock. But in which case obviously we would have to give away draft capital, which again we don't have very much of to start with. But even if we just took one at 13 and then, like, you know, took one at number 3 or whatever our fucking shitty, or I guess it would be good draft position, but because we had a shitty season, then 2 first-round quarterbacks, well, which one are you going to go with? That's a lot of draft capital to be putting into that one position. So look, I'm saying, man, I honestly, I do not agree with this approach, but I have a feeling that the Dolphins are going to move up in this year's draft. They're going to give away draft capital. Again, when we don't, you know, really have that much. We only have 7 picks in this year's draft, and we don't have a 6th round pick because we traded that for a 7th round pick in the Ryan Tannehill trade. And then we have 9 picks next year, 2 4ths and 2 7ths. But if we give away, you know, some of that draft capital, I mean, we're already thin, right? You know, to go get a guy, which I just have a feeling, man. I have a feeling that they're going to neglect, because of the fan base clamoring for a quarterback, because of Stephen Ross being in their ears for a quarterback, and then you have, you know, 5 people in the room with their own opinions and their own thoughts and their own methodologies and so on and so forth. Apparently they all mesh and they're all on the same page, but they did say that with the regime before, and they said that with the regime before that. You know, Adam Gase's regime, Joe Philbin's regime, they always say that, at least at first, and then when they, you know, go separate ways, then they say, you know, oh, maybe it wasn't, whatever. But anyway, they say they're all on the same page, but they're going to have 5 people in that room with, at least 5 people in that room with opinions. And then, you know, so I got a feeling they're going to go up and get a quarterback this year. I don't want them to at all. I want them to take an offensive lineman in the 1st round, but, you know, hey, look, they'll probably do it. And then if they take it, that's a lot of draft capital just for one position. And it's not that important. I know that's like heresy to a lot of people, but the quarterback position is not that important. Not as important as people make it out to be. It's very important, yes, but not as important as people make it out to be. Because one, there's 11 people on the field, and two, you don't have to have an elite quarterback. He doesn't have to be Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes. If you have a good team, meaning all 11 people on the field are, good, do their jobs, so on and so forth, then you can have an average to good quarterback and go to the playoffs or win Super Bowls. You don't have to have an elite quarterback. It is not necessary. And oftentimes that's where teams get into such cap hell, because they're trying to always invest in just a ton of money in certain positions. No, you need to spread it out across your entire team. You need to invest. Are there positions that are, you could argue, are more important? Yes, but you got to have balance, right? But anyway, I got a feeling they're going to take a quarterback this year and next year, and they're going to end up neglecting filling holes where they need to, where it's more important, like the offensive line. And then whoever they take this year or next year, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, whoever plays quarterback, is going to have a fucking hard time back there. They're going to get their ass handed to them. They're going to be on the ground a lot. And then people are going to be like, oh, well, what's going on? What's happening? Blah, blah, blah. I don't get it. We took our quarterback. We did everything that I want to do because my emotions said so. And then what, right? And then not only that, but then you're not gonna have draft capital to swing, right? Take chances at getting guys on the defensive line. We need another solid cornerback. We need a lot of help on the defensive line. We need, tackles and edge rushers. We might need to tweak our linebacker situation a little bit, because if we're going to play a hybrid 4-3-3-4, our scheme is going to be way different. And then our offensive line is just non-existent. We have far too many holes to be, dumping all of our resources into one position. It's foolish. But I have a feeling that's what's going to happen. There's going to be pressure on this organization, the front office, to take a quarterback this year and next year. One, because we don't have one. Two, because the fan base is super short-sighted, and that's all they really want. They just want that shiny toy, that fancy young, quarterback that everybody's clamoring about, right? And because Stephen Ross is feeling the pressure too, because he hasn't been successful as an owner of a franchise. He took a sterling franchise, one that had a rich tradition of history, and made it exceptionally mediocre at best. And so at this point now he's, getting desperate because he's getting old. Watch. I mean, mark my words. Hear me now, quote me later. If the Dolphins take a quarterback this year and next year, especially if they have to, spend draft capital more than just a single pick, right? Because they trade up to go get a guy. Look, I'm telling you, it's going to backfire. It will backfire, because if they do that, then that means they are dumping an exceptional amount of the resources that you would use to build a team, right? Draft, because you want to build through the draft. You're dumping a ton of resources into one position when you have a myriad of holes. There's a lot of holes on this team, a plethora, particularly in the trenches, in the most important place on the team, really. People say quarterback, but I'm one of those people that believes it's the trenches. Trenches. That's where it starts. And we're super thin on both sides of the ball. And if they do that, it's going to backfire, and we are going to end up having shitty seasons, not just next year or the year after, but the year after that too, because they will not be building this thing the right way and allocating resources in the smartest, most efficient way. And then we are going to end up, through no, will of our own, maybe their game plan this year is to tank, but through no, will of their own, they will end up having subpar, sub 500, and possibly even shittier seasons. And then this staff and this regime will not be here for the full 5 years, because then Stephen Ross will get even more impatient. The Dolphins fan base will then get more impatient, and then this regime will be out too, and then we'll be stuck. It's going to end up being miserable. So look, I mean, we can't read too much into it, but it, I mean, it looks like they're gonna, you know, they're gonna be chasing, and I don't know, man. We still gotta wait and see how it all unfolds. Look, honestly, here's the thing. I'm telling you guys how. First of all, I'm presenting you guys with all the facts, all the information, and I'm giving my perspective and my evaluation. The part where I give you my predictions and how I think it's going to unfold, that's my evaluation, right? That's my perspective. I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But based off of, you know, historical data and all the information we have, it seems as if, you know, or that's what's led me to make the predictions that I've made, right? And so, but the thing is though, is again, I've also advocated, and I do advocate, that no matter how the first 3 years of this regime goes, they should be given 5 years, right? Because that was the commitment that was made to Flores, and I think they should be given an adequate window to prove that, you know, even if you have some adversity and some hardship in the first couple years, that you can overcome that and actually build, you know, the things, the tenets that I brought you here, the culture that I wanted you to set, and all that stuff that you were here to set, you know, that it can work and that it can be successful, and it can be successful in the long term. So, you know, we have to wait and see, right? But I'll tell you this much. If, you know, if they, I'm going to, for me, I'm giving them the draft. I'm really eager to see what's going to happen in this draft, how they approach it, if they do chase a quarterback. But look, guys, I'm telling you, if they decide to chase a quarterback this year and then take one next year and they neglect the trenches, they're setting themselves up for failure. So, and again, I hope I'm wrong, but history has shown that when you do these kinds of things, it's failure more often than not. And until I'm, you know, until I'm proven wrong, I mean, you know, the historical data more often than not turns out this way. So, you know, they got to prove it, man. They got to prove it. And this first year is going to be very telling, because it's going to tell us, you know, what their overall approach and mindset is going to be for the entire tenure of Brian Flores and this staff. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and end it there. I hope you guys enjoy my videos. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comments section. And as always, make sure you follow me on Twitter at Dillon Tartaro. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Fins up.